What up? It's your boy K-Blao here next. This video called Cancer's Bottom Feeders. You know what I'm saying? Charlemagne the God just recently apologized to Kwame Brown for bringing up some dirt on him and his father. You know what I'm saying? I guess and his brother too. You know what I'm saying? In that there's a lot going on with Kwame Brown and that he back in the news. You know what I'm saying? Because they was on ESPN, the Sports Center. You know what I'm saying? Basically cracking on him. Mind you, it's between sports. You know what I'm saying? It's like rivalry shit, motherfuckers trash talking sports shit. You see what I'm saying? And they was talking about his skills, and then they were talking about two paid like this on fucking this man shit. They was cracking jokes about each other. You know what I'm saying? It got a little wild, but you know what I'm saying? It didn't get bottom fed until Charlemagne the God step in, who ain't had nothing to do with this. He not a sports player. He trying to cap views, hits. You know what I'm saying? He get on the internet talking about leave Kwame Brown alone. His father done killed people with the back of a axe hammer, something like that. He's saying, God damn it. What the fuck else he said? He said his brother killed somebody too. Some girl, something, you know what I'm saying? And so y'all better leave him alone. And I'm like, man, like, this is what you call bottom feeding. You know what I'm saying? Bottom feeding entertainment, bottom feeding dialogue. A lot of times, motherfucking conversations start with cancers on some shit like this. And they're like, you gotta say, man, Cardinals cancer. I mean, I say that shit, fucking dyslexia kicking in, shit irritate me, man. Cancer is cardinal. You know what I'm saying? Cancer is cardinal. Say that shit 10 times. So saying cardinal mean hour with the emotion. I mean, you know what I'm saying? They coming at you with this shit. You know what I'm saying? So, when you look at a situation like Charlemagne the God, you know what I'm saying? The shit he own, not only is he own it, he coming at you with it. You know what I'm saying? He coming at you with this ratchetness. You know what I'm saying? He wants you to hear this shit. You know what I'm saying? You two fucking grown ass men talking some, you know what I'm saying, rivalry sports shit. He come talking some real shit about motherfucking his father and, all type of murder and shit. Like motherfuckers like, man, hold on, what the fuck? Joe, you tripping. You know what I'm saying? The fuck? So he just came out and apologized for doing this. You know what I'm saying? But like me, you know what I'm saying? I look at the apology like it's bullshit too, man. You like, I gave him a lot of respect for probably. I was like, wait, hold on, man. It's way too easy for cancer. Don't be apologizing like that, man. You crazy hell. Cancer rather box your ass for they apologize, especially somebody like Charlemagne the God. You know what I'm saying? But I look at it like the only reason he gave himself donkey a day and apologized is saying shit he was trying to eat capping. You know what I'm saying? And it's still he doubled down. He basically doubled down on it. You know what I'm saying? Because like from his perspective, he ain't got nothing to even do with this shit. You know what I'm saying? Now his name trending more on that topic more than Kwame Brown and the motherfucking Sports Center is. You know what I'm saying? And it's all bottom feeder shit the way he came in. You know what I'm saying? Man, I was sitting there watching what's a movie called Thunder Force or something like that. It's you know what I'm saying? It's a movie with the motherfucking superheroes. I can't even think of it, but Jason Bateman. You look at Jason Bateman was playing like a crab. Okay, he was literally playing a crab. Motherfucker had crab arms. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And he was a villain. He was supposed to be a villain. You know what I'm saying? But he was dating the main character who was a woman. You know what I'm saying? Cancer shit. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, okay, and mind you, I think he even said in there, he was like, man, I'm a Cancer. You know what I'm saying? So, he on the bad team, but he dating the hero. You know what I'm saying? Was a female. You know what I'm saying? So, I remember halfway, like toward the end, you know what I'm saying? Motherfucker said some shit like, he's like, man, you a fucking bottom feeder. Like the boss, the actual boss, when he found out that, you know what I'm saying, that Jason Bateman, the crab cancer motherfucker, was fucking with the good side, he was like, man, he called him a bottom feeder. And like, a big ass light bulb went off in my head, man, because I was watching the Kathy Newman, like, this some shit you gotta look up, Joe. Like, Kathy Newman was interviewing fucking Jordan Peterson, you know what I'm saying, and Jordan Peterson, brilliant, you know what I'm saying, he's very well spoken, but under the bottom feeding, like she was bottom feeding his whole fucking conversation. Like she kept saying, okay, so what you're saying is, okay, so what you like, you can go on Google and look this shit up. Like, you know what I'm saying, on YouTube and look it up. It's like every time Kathy Newman corrected Jordan Peterson, man, that shit went on for like 3-4 minutes straight. And it was like he'd say some profound shit and she'll turn around and drag it into the gutter. She's like, oh, so what you're saying is that all women are, want to be fucking at home washing dishes. So she's like, man, that ain't what the fuck I said. Like, you know what I'm saying? Same shit like you go back and watch the Corey Holcomb, like with Corey Holcomb on was it 5150 when they got into it with Zoe. Zoe sitting there telling him, you know what I'm saying, what the problem is. He's sitting there telling him the truth. And like Corey Hogan sitting there bottom feeding the whole shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? He's like, oh, so what you saying is this is that, this is that. And you be like, man, like you try to ask yourself, man, like, well, every time you talk to a cancer, you know what I'm saying, y'all end up arguing. Like, man, like I said this in the video I did the other day, the black puzzle video, you know what I'm saying? You gotta remember, like, you know what I'm saying, when you know what I'm saying, talking to a motherfucking cancer, like, them motherfuckers they don't even see the benefit in, you know what I'm saying, in what you're saying. So, you know what I'm saying, a lot of times you try to come in and correct them and it end up turning into confrontation. You know what I'm saying? You be like, Joe, like, I'm not, you know what I'm saying, trying to confront you. You know what I'm saying? Like, but the way the dialogue play out, by the time it's over, you be feeling like you to confront them. And you be like, man, hold on, like, I'm just sitting there talking to you, like, putting you up on game or some shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? But you ask them what the fuck happened, they gonna be like, oh, well, that person's confrontational. You know what I'm saying? And you be like, yo, how the fuck? You know what I'm saying? So it don't necessarily be you. I'm in fucking cancer group. You know what I'm saying? They was asking, they was like, Joe, like, do you keep attracting toxicity? And mind you, like, literally every post in that whole fucking group, it's crazy, man. Like, every post in that group literally be like the same type of post. Like, oh, I got into it with my man today. I got into it with my girl today. Or we broke up. Or we back together. It's like literally every fucking post. You know what I'm saying? And like, oh, I'm so tired of getting my heart broken. I'm so tired of people not appreciating shit. I'll be like, Joe, like, cancers get cheated on a lot. You know what I'm saying? A lot. You know what I'm saying? Because like I was like, man, like, do y'all motherfuckers understand that like y'all are like, you talking about like fourth house shit. You know what I'm saying? Fourth house dynamic play out the way it play out because it be like, man, it's something about the way that they fucking think. It's like bottom feed and shit. Like I be sitting like my son was watching this TV show. It's called Ricky, Dickie, and Dawn or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? My fucking wife put this shit on for him. You know what I'm saying? Mind you, I look at this shit, it look like it's for girls. It ain't really for girls, it's for kids. But I'm saying, look at it, I'm like, yo, this is kind of more for girls than boys. But whatever. You know what I'm saying? So like, I'm sitting there watching the parents interact on this shit. And every motherfucking conversation they having, they getting into it like on some petty back and forth shit. Like every conversation. And I'm like, man, this fourth house for real. Mind you, she cut this shit off for him. And like, in her mind, she think this shit funny. You know what I'm saying? So like, mind me, I'm sitting there watching this shit. I'm like, okay, wait. No wonder every time we talk, it be like, it sound like this. Like, you know what I'm saying? And motherfuckers normalize this shit. You know what I'm saying? You start thinking that shit normal. You be like, wait a minute, hold on. Like, this shit ain't normal. You know what I'm saying? This is fourth house shit. You know what I'm saying? Every conversation between a man and a woman ain't supposed to sound like back and forth and a motherfucker trying to correct you back and forth. It's like at some point, somebody gonna need to get corrected, and that's the end of the conversation. Like, motherfucker trying to, like, every time you try to correct them, motherfucker try to turn around and correct you, and motherfuckers think this shit normal. Like, okay, like conversations, but like, no, that's just fourth house shit. Like me, I'm Aquarius. You know what I'm saying? I have multiple people in my life who don't do shit but correct me. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's their purpose. And they like is to correct me. I don't feel the need to try to correct them back. You know what I'm saying? This 11th house shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, the motherfucker who can, you know what I'm saying, accept instruction and not see it as confrontation. You know what I'm saying? So, like, when you talk about cancer's bottom feeding, you start to wonder why all the cancer relationships sound the way they sound, because they be bottom feeding. Because, like, you know what I'm saying, the way that these motherfuckers, the conversation play out, you know what I'm saying? It's like, go back and watch the Kathy Newman interview. Go back and watch, you know what I'm saying, the Principality, when I'm talking about that movie Thunder Force. Go back and watch, you know what I'm saying, even like you look at the OJ trial, you know what I'm saying, you talking about bottom feeding. You know what I'm saying? Motherfucking killed his wife, shit like that. And you know what I'm saying? He getting up there talking about, you know, he didn't do that shit. You know what I'm saying? You look at Jodi Arias when she went on trial, you talking about bottom feeding. Like, the lawyer sitting there arguing with her ass. You know what I'm saying? Literally, to try to get to the truth. She's sitting there bottom feeding the whole conversation. Now, mind you, like, it's another thing too. You talking about bottom feeding, and like, a lot of times cancers do bottom feed. Like, you talking about like Trapper. You look at like Larsa Pippen, the situation like Larsa Pippen. Like Malik Beasley, he just fucking apologized for the shit he was going on. Like, she knew he was married. You know what I'm saying? She knew he was going through some shit. She was like 22 years older than him. You know what I'm saying? So like, it's like bottom feeding. Like, she about to be on Social Security in the next 5-10 years. You know what I'm saying? You haven't trying to bottom feed on a 22-year-old. So a lot of times cancers pick easy targets. You know what I'm saying? Bottom feeding. You know, and like, you gotta understand, a lot of shit too come from crab mentality. And then like, in that same video, you go watch, it's about 25, 26 minutes into the full video. You go find the full video of Kathy Newman interviewing Jordan Peterson. They have a section that's about 25, 26 minutes into the video. You know what I'm saying? Where he was explaining how group thought, you know what I'm saying, to certain sets of group of people, you know what I'm saying, group thought is paramount to individual thought. You know what I'm saying? And then, like, you come on one page, it's very individualistic thought, where it's like anybody can hear this and still it can still apply. I don't fall in a group thought. You know what I'm saying? So like he was saying how that was a segue into what they was talking about, into the lobster mind, and that like lobsters, crabs, have a similar mentality of a hierarchy mind, and that like they believe group thought is paramount over individual thought. So like same thing with cancer. So like if you looking at everybody like they born the same, like everybody's created quote unquote equal, you know what I'm saying, everybody should judge all things that have the same values on everybody being equal, then yeah, you're gonna start to treat the who you try to ask you, okay, what do you base on who you treat people good on and who you treat bad? You know, what do you base your relationships on? Like, if you're gonna treat this person good, you're gonna treat this person bad. So then when you know what I'm saying? That's why fourth house, the motherfuckers treat their family a lot of times and treat people that's close to them like shit, but then they'll go kiss the ass of their boss, or they'll kiss the ass of somebody who's famous, or like somebody who they trying to aspire to be. They'll kiss their motherfucking ass and then turn around and treat people who close to them, or like people who look like they got less value like shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? So like this is what the crabs do. They call crabs in a barrel. You know what I'm saying? Like motherfucker crab, motherfucker try to pull them back. Mind you, there's multiple reasons why they break that shit down, but ultimately it's still a crab in a barrel bottom feeding mentality. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's literally like motherfuckers is literally picking the worst part of the thought, like literally like the worst person, and then like turning everything they say into the worst part of the conversation. You can try to talk some real shit to a cancer, you know what I'm saying, on some real shit, and like motherfucker end up, you know what I'm saying, talking you out of even talk. You don't even want to talk to them. You like, man, I can't even talk to you. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you literally taking every thought that I'm saying and turning it into the worst possible scenario or the worst possible example you can get. And then like then on top of that, motherfucker can't even keep on point with what you're saying. You be trying to make a 10 like 5 point. Like, it's 5 layers to this point. You know what I'm saying? You can't even get to the second layer because motherfucker be sitting there trying to rebut. You know what I'm saying? Like, cancers don't want to learn, man. Like, them motherfuckers want to sit there and bottom feed and fight and go back and forth. Like, you know what I'm saying? And like, they be trolling. You know what I'm saying? And like, that's why it started with Charlamagne the God, and you motherfucker come out and apologize and shit like that. This is the perfect example. That's why I use that example as first. Is that like, they be trolling. A lot of times cancers be trolling, man, bottom feeding. And like a motherfucker go, like, you know what I'm saying? Like they kind of one trick ponies like that, man. Like, this the one thing they good at more than anything. Like, they know how to troll. Like, they know how to talk shit. And like, you know what I'm saying? And troll and bottom feed. It's the difference between trolling and bottom feeding. Bottom feeding is like trying to troll really, really hard type shit. You know what I'm saying? It's bottom feeding. Bottom. Like, fucking Charlamagne sitting there talking about, oh yeah, his father got an accident and killed this person and they killed this person and that's why this you need to do this. Like, Jordan, this is bottom feeding. Ain't no word for this shit. You know what I'm saying? So when you start calling that out, it really fucked their head up. Like you said, like last time, like my wife, she tried to pull up, I'm like, man, quit bottom feeding. You know what I'm saying? And then she like, oh, I ain't bottom feeding. I'm like, yeah, okay, motherfucker, right. You know what I'm saying? So like when you learn to call that shit out for what it is, you start to see motherfuckers change their ways, cause like they think they slick, man. They think they be trolling. Like, motherfucker, you can't out troll a motherfucking troll, motherfucker. Like, that ain't trolling. That's bottom feeding. That's different. That's just bottom feeding. You know what I'm saying? So start calling that shit out, you know what I'm saying, when you see it, and tell motherfuckers where you got it from too, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Don't be taking my shit and running around using it and not telling motherfuckers where you got it from, man. These crabs be out here bottom feeding. So make sure you call them out on it. You know what I'm saying? On that note, you know what I'm saying, if you got any examples that you want to leave in the comments, you know what I'm saying, I would love to hear any references or any examples you got of motherfuckers bottom feeding, you know what I'm saying, talking to cancers and shit like that, you know what I'm saying, but I get the fuck out of here. I got the shit I got to do, starting with rolling this blunt. I'm going to holler at y'all. You dig.